average hooker cost per hour in the UK? The answer is between £125 and £130.
You have not been overpaying, Sanjeev. That is the rate. That is the rate. Welcome back to the Wright Stuff's 10th birthday special with me, Matthew Wright, and them, Lisa Faulkner, Sanjeev Bhaskar and Catherine Tate, and all of them, our celebrity audience. Now, before we proceed... Oi, Tate, here's my present.
You want your present?
Yeah, I forgot about this.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
That's beautiful.
Signed!
Is this real?
Yes!
Really?
Yes!
Really?
Really, really.
That would take pride of place in my toilet. It'll form the new seats. Now, still to come this evening, why aren't women as funny as men? Is it the way they tell them? Or perhaps it has more to do with the way we, the audience, react, perhaps giving male comedians an easier ride. 0207 173 5555 is the number you've got something to say on that. Hope you have. But first, let's hear what you have to say as we try and find out who you think holds the moral high ground. The wannabe wag who'll do anything to get herself a rich bloke, or let's limit it to the high-class prostitute who's upfront about what she's offering and what she wants for it. And I think we all know why I have this on my mind. Wayne Rooney has, of course, copped a bucket load this past week for consorting with a high-class hooker by the name of Jenny Thompson. He paid her £1,200 a night for sex, as did a number of other footy stars. As many as 13 if the papers are to be believed, enough for her to have fielded her own team. I should remind you, it's not illegal to sell your body. The former public schoolgirl did so willingly, and yet look at how she's been crucified by the press. Still, at least she didn't get labelled the old slapper like another prostitute friend of Rooney's, Patricia Tiernan. And yet, leaving aside, if we can, the fact that this young woman sold her story, is she any more of a minx than the blondes who line up in nightclubs every night of the week with one thing on their mind, which is to get some rich guy to take them out? I've spoken to footballers' wives who told me that as soon as they go to the loo, another girl will jump into their seat, whether that be in a restaurant, bar or club, and they'll tell you how other girls will follow them into the toilets to keep them busy while their mates tries to talk their husband into bed. And they tell me it happens all the time. The life of a wag, of course, can be lucrative. Vanessa Perencel had a child with £90,000 a week defender Wayne Bridge, left him, got knocked up by £130,000 a week John Terry, had an abortion and got 20 grand to cheer herself up, and then won an alleged £1 million child maintenance deal from Bridge, which is not a bad living, but is it honourable? We got Kirsty to walk the streets to find out.
Who is more honest, a wannabe wag or a prostitute?
Prostitute.
If they truly are just wannabe wags, they just want to be with someone because of their money, then yeah, there's a fine line, if like a line at all, between that and being a prostitute.
I think it's a prostitute. Once they get their money, they give you the service. So I think they are more honest.
Who's more honest? A prostitute, probably.
Prostitute.
Why do you think that?
Oh, no, it's up front. This is what you get. This is what you pay.
Who do you think's more honest, a prostitute or a wannabe wag?
Ooh, wannabe wag.
Honest, we heard a lot about there. Lisa, what about honourable?
I just think a prostitute, you know what you're getting. It's a business transaction and they're upfront about it. I think these wannabe wags... I was speaking to a friend of mine who's a footballer's wife, and she said exactly the same as your friend, that when she goes out, it's literally like she'll go to the loo and there are just girls on her husband. And I thought, you know, you must get a sense of it. It must be quite frightening, all of that. And I think these girls, it's such a horrible message because they don't seem to care about sisterhood or anything like that. And I found the other day, I was in a shop buying my daughter clothes, and there was a T-shirt for toddlers saying "wannabe wag," and I just thought, what sort of message?
Especially when you compare it to the reaction we've had there from people on the street. Sanjeev, do you think one has more honour than the other, or maybe this is a situation where neither?
Well, it just seems now that kind of, you know, the term wannabe wag, the wag is kind of for those women who are too stupid to be able to kind of pronounce glamour model. I think it's 3 letters, it's easier to say, I guess. But in this particular case, you know, the Rooney and whatever her name is case, she's given prostitution a bad name as well, because all this stuff about a contract, you know, part of the deal was that you exchange the money, you have the experience, and it remains, you know, like a counsellor or a lawyer or something like that. So
That's what I said when I said, I mean, it's a cheeky thing to say, asking you to leave the fact she sold her story to one side.
Yeah.
That's actually quite a big ask in this particular instance, isn't it?
Because... But I think that isn't that generally part of the contract if you go to one of these ladies of the night?
Don't look at me, mate.
Well, I just
wife's here for starters.
I just want to point out to Spicy Sukhvinder of the Northolt Massage and Chop House, it's a contract. It's a contract. Okay.
It's a contract. Catherine, can one of these groups of women claim a higher moral standpoint than the other?
I have to pull you up on the point that you're... Or Mrs. I have to pull you up on the point that you say, leaving aside the fact that she sold her story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The person who has the moral high ground is the person who doesn't sell their story to the press. So, and you know,
even if in doing so you expose another individual as being a love rat for...
But two wrongs can't make a right, can they? I don't think that's the case. I think that's the whole point, isn't it? And although it's a strange thing to say, she sort of has given prostitution a bad name because the whole point about it is it's discreet and it's paid for and that's it. But also the other thing is, you know, everyone who ends up with a footballer isn't a wannabe gold digger.
And I'm aware of that,
you know
as well.
I mean?
I'm aware of that. I mean, Colleen Nolan,
yes,
or as Gail likes to call her, style icon Colin. Colleen Rooney, I should say. She's somebody who's been with Wayne since day one, as a young teenage girl. So you can't exactly accuse her of going out.
No, and she's not a terrible role model for children.
No. OK, let's throw it open to you. Who has the moral high ground here? Kirsty.
OK, first we have Mark on line 2.
Mark, good morning. I should say morning. My God! Good evening, Mark. I've got to get used to this. Does one group of women hold the higher moral high ground?
No. What you're looking at, basically, is you have one set of women that will chase after a particular type of man that happens to earn about 300 grand a week, whether it be through kicking a bag of air around a pitch, for 90 minutes, or you've got another type of woman who will chase after the same man for doing the same thing, but only looks to be with him for about an hour or so, just so she can get a slice of some of that 300 grand, OK? But both of them, at the end of the day, will actually lay down with the same guy and put up with all the nonsense just to have a little... what was the quote from The Godfather? Oh, I just want to wet my beak a bit.
Right, yeah, and nicely said, by the way. OK, I'm persuaded, thank you. What about in our audience? Who have we got there?
Okay, next week's Janet, so where do you stand on this?
I think we have to be really careful here in making this a defence of prostitution. There's no such thing as a high-class hooker, just a hooker. The girl who sells herself for money has already sold herself. The girl with the footballer, where no money is involved, he is exploiting nobody. They're both exploiting each other.
But it is extraordinary
that the prostitute is exploiting her.
It's extraordinary that you have a public schoolgirl, a string of public schoolgirls, if the papers are to be believed, that have chosen, despite having an expensive education and all the advantages that are around there, that choose a career in prostitution.
Yeah, we have things like Belle de Jour, presumably, to thank for that. But it is no career ever for a woman. It's not the oldest profession. It is no profession at all. And women are continually exploited through it. And the footballer who pays is exploiting her again.
OK, I'll go with that.
Is it any different to groupies? I'm just trying to think about that now. You've got groupies with bands.
But there was no financial... I mean, if you read the sort of Pamela Des Barres books, and there was no sort of financial motive. And in fact, bizarrely, she maintained long-term friendships with most of the people she slept with, which reads like a sort of A to Z of rock legends, from Jimmy Page to Jimi Hendrix. So...
But I mean, a lot of them are trying to bag, in one way or another, a famous person who has got connections, which may lead to something. The difference in this case is that money was exchanged and she sold a story. Yeah. And also what's morally kind of bizarre about this is that she was kind of quoted as saying that the point that she found it abhorrent was when he suggested they go back to his house.
To the marital home, yeah.
So at the moment that she's going, oh, yeah, a goat? Yeah. 2 women? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, furry one? Great. Well, your house?
Yeah.
Disgusting pervert.
OK, this is kind of... We've got to move on, we've got to take a break, we've got to pay the bills, after which we're going to find out why women aren't as funny as men. Maybe they are, but audiences perhaps prefer a bloke when a bloke is trying to crack them up. A new study suggests that may well be the case, but Catherine's comedy work, Victoria Wood, French and Saunas, Miranda Hart's success, all these women would suggest otherwise. So what do you reckon? 0207 173 5555. That is the number to call. And while you're doing that, here's a classic clip from 7 years back. Angela Rippon taming right-wing tennis legend Buster Mottram.
Buster! Buster! Let me give you an example. Buster!
Hello?
Hello, I'm going to shout really loud so you
Good,
can
I'm sorry,
hear
I
me.
can't hear you.
I'm Angela Rippon, and I think you've just used the word nonsense several times. I think what you're talking is a load of nonsense.
See, women can not only be funny, but ever so slightly frightening too. We'll see you in 3.
How many women made it into Channel 4's top 100 comedians of all time earlier this year? 6, 26 or 46? Find out after the break.